Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Decentralized Chain. It's Faraz bringing you all things blockchain. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about tokenizing real world assets on chain. And in order to have this conversation today, we have Sean Chen, the founder or one of the founders of OpenDAO, as well as Logan Fulcher, who is also the community lead for OpenDAO. And really, the concept is an interesting one because if we have a look at DeFi today as a whole, it's pretty much exclusively with niche on-chain assets. So there is a gap here to tokenize real-world assets and bring this into the picture. And so one would take the next logical step in this space as being that the idea behind it is that we take DeFi, cryptocurrency, we wrap that with real world assets, and this is where you have OpenDAO. So very interesting project, already live, certainly worth checking out if you haven't done so already. But you know, the whole point of this interview is to give our viewers, those who haven't come across the project and those who have come across the project, just a bit more of an insight into how all of this works. But you know, to put it simply, they have a 3-step mechanism in total. They've got this cash box and open stake mechanism. So the idea here is that they use this to take on-chain liquidity, and with that they create the off-chain asset and obviously provide the enforcement around it. Then as part of that process, you have OpenUSD. So the idea here is that you take that real world asset and the OpenUSD pretty much acts as the collateral in order to mint that stablecoin. And then you also have the open money market. So this is another angle, which is really the money market that allows users to lend against real world assets for stablecoins and obviously receive high yield returns doing so. So it's, you know, certainly an interesting concept. The project is already live. It's already out on the open market. But, you know, this show isn't just about looking at upcoming projects. It's also looking about projects that are already in this space, that are making changes, that are actually doing the doing rather than just talk about the doing as well as part of that process. So we're going to jump on over shortly and catch up with Sean and catch up with Logan and talk a bit more about this. So definitely check that out. Great conversation, great banter, the passion, it's all there. So, you know, really good session overall. Now, the other part, as always, you know, I appreciate it when you help me grow this channel. I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers. I have been running for a while, but I don't think I promote this channel enough in order to kind of bring in that audience. So I would certainly appreciate it if you drop a like below. Certainly subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And as always, and as we have done for some time now, we are doing yet another giveaway, $100 of crypto up for grabs. So make sure you follow the instructions below to understand exactly how you can be entered into the competition for that. And we will announce the winners soon. So let's jump on in and catch up with Sean and Logan and all things OpenDAO. Right, so Sean, Logan, welcome to the channel. Great to have you here. I know I've been speaking to you guys in the background. I thought, you know, it'd be great to get you both on, talk a bit about OpenDAO, what you're doing. Clearly, there's a lot of big announcements coming. And I think before we kick off, guys, I mean, you're obviously on the other side of the world from me. I'm in rainy, cold, 10 degrees, wet London. And I'm assuming that your summers in Melbourne, or Christmas summers, I like to call them, must be nice and warm. Yeah, nice and warm. So somebody somewhere else, right? So who's where?
Well, I guess since you mentioned Melbourne, I'll chime in and say, yes, I am in Melbourne. However, anyone who's lived here will know that the weather is supremely unpredictable, and the 4 seasons in one day is definitely not too much of a stretch from reality. For example, right now, I think it's 18 degrees and raining, and it's to be summer for us. So in a few days, it'll be 27 degrees. So always keeps us on our toes.
So it sounds like British weather, but just warmer, to be honest.
Well, we were a colony, so it kind of makes sense that the weather kind of followed us over a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I always tend to forget about that, actually. And Logan, yourself?
I'm in Japan right now, and it is freezing cold.
Okay, well,
I think I'm going to turn up my heater right now. And yeah, things are good here. Otherwise, aside from the freezing cold. We're good.
Well, in that case, I'm happy that it's cold for you because it's also cold for me. And usually when I am interviewing people, they have much better weather, so it's nice to have some sort of synergies here as well. Right. So beyond the weather, we are talking about OpenDAO today, right? Tokenizing off-chain assets. That's what we're talking about here. So, I'm going to start by saying I've got my house. I've almost paid it off. There's a fair bit of equity in it. Can I tokenize it and make some money on some yield markets?
Sean, can he tokenize his house?
That is the overall mission that we're going towards. But let me sort of backpedal a little bit and say, so tokenization is one aspect of what our protocol will work with. However, it's not the main thing that we do. So our mission is really to take these real world assets and have them interface with crypto in a meaningful way. And a part of that process involves tokenization. However, you'll have heard of some other players in the space who actually specialize in the legal tokenization of these real world assets. So, for example, Securitize is a big player. Centrifuge are doing tokenization. Polymath, for example. So those are kinds of partners which we will be working with in the future, where they will effectively onboard these assets to crypto, and then our job is to then allow people to interact with them in a fully decentralized and permissionless manner. And that's what we're hoping to achieve with OpenDAO, and we've sort of been building protocols to sort of achieve that mission to date.
Okay. So, I mean, keeping it simple, how does it sort of really work in practice then? It kind of sounds like you've got these Cashbox interfaces that are sort of in play, but I mean, explain that bit to me, please, Sean or Logan.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the easiest way to understand what we're doing is through our main product, which we're announcing tomorrow, in fact, or at least the first stage of that main product. And that is a stable coin called USDO, which will be backed by a basket of assets ranging from on-chain crypto all the way through to real-world assets such as listed stock or even your home in terms of real estate. So in a way, it's similar to MakerDAO in terms of their MCD. Obviously, they have multi-collateral. However, our focus will very much be on bridging these off-chain real-world assets on-chain to allow people to use it as collateral. So we have, you mentioned the Cashbox briefly. That's one of our inner workings, which allow people to basically provide liquidity against these off-chain assets. Because the biggest issue in terms of bridging off-chain assets or real-world assets to DeFi is not so much which assets to choose. It's not, is it listed stock or is it real estate or is it something? It's actually, how do you deal with off-chain enforcement in a permissionless manner? You trust that if something changes value, that you can liquidate that, for example, and then bring that value on chain. So that's really the problem we're trying to solve, and we have done that through the Cashbox system. But it's a little bit sort of abstract, sort of wrap your head around. So what we're doing, we did have a beta program where people could interface directly with the Cashbox, but through feedback from the community, we're actually going to abstract that away and just build interfaces for people to do things that they understand. So, for example, everyone understands the concept, at least in DeFi, of having some form of collateral, for example, BTC. So we have a partnership with the Ren protocol guys, which allow you to wrap BTC into Ren BTC, which can then be used as collateral for minting the stable coin. So that's a very sort of easy way to understand what we're doing. And that's an example with on-chain assets. Of course, BTC is on-chain, but it is a separate asset class to Ethereum, for example, or other ERC20 based assets.
Okay. I suppose it makes enforcement a bit easier when it comes to topics like REM BTC more than anything else. I'm curious about some of these use cases. I mean, a lot of what you're doing, you need to get adoption. You need to drive that adoption as well. And like you mentioned, there are others also in this space. And so I'm curious, how do you I'm not going to say, become, well, I mean, everyone's ultimate goal is to, to become market leader in this space. But how do you take some of that market share for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think something myself and my co-founders we've been thinking about as well. Firstly, I really think our industry is so nascent and small, and the pie is so small.
Mm.
The pie is going to get bigger, so I don't think we actually directly compete with anyone at this stage. If anything, our job and everyone else's job in crypto is to get more adoption in crypto overall, which is to convince people that have all of their wealth in fiat, for example, to transfer some of that into crypto. That's the first mission, and that can really only be achieved by building easy to use, good and productive products. So I don't think we directly compete with anyone. Obviously, we do play in the same spaces, for
Yeah.
example, Maker, but in terms of like you look at the market cap of crypto overall, and
Mm.
it's dwarfed by some of the one or two of the largest companies on the stock market,
Yeah.
Apple and Facebook, for example.
Yeah.
So we're nowhere near the sort of space of having to take off someone else's plate. I truly believe it's a sort of a rising tide.
Mm.
I can't remember the saying exactly, something to do with ships rising, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Well, it's interesting you said ships because because I was going to mention, about a month or two ago, I interviewed another platform which is looking around tokenization assets as well, specifically focused around the freight industry, which was Persistence. So, I suppose in terms of the answer that you gave earlier, everyone's taking a slice of the pie. I suppose not everyone is really competing with everyone directly, purely because everyone's focusing on a given niche to a certain extent. I don't think anyone's trying to target everything. So, some will look at tokenizing what they know best from their industry perspective, whereas others will focus maybe more on real estate because that kind of happens to be more of their background than anything else. So let's talk a bit more about your team, actually, team, partners, and goals, because always curious to understand the makeup of projects. Your team are your backbone, as well as the community. But without the team, without the project, you're not really going to be going anywhere any day soon. So,
Yeah.
Sean, how did you get into this space in the first place?
Yeah, well, I think I'll just quickly touch on the point that you made about
Mm.
real estate, because that kind of leads into my background as well
Yeah.
as my co-founder's background, Maresh. So our backgrounds are actually in real estate development financing. So Maresh started a platform a few years ago called Estate Baron, which was a crowdfunding platform for real estate development projects. And his whole mission there was to democratize access to development returns. So just to give a bit of context on the industry, it's
Yeah.
usually a developer, wants to build an apartment for, let's say, $50 million, and they would normally get some borrowings from a major bank, but there would always be a shortfall, and also an equity position for private investors to get involved in. And development returns, when done right, especially in a country like Australia, and I'm sure many others, do very, very well. There are very fat margins in real estate development. However, those kinds of opportunities, because of the size of the check that was required to get into these projects, was usually reserved for what we call high net wealth individuals or sophisticated investors. Not available to the average mum and dad investor or people like you and me. And we really saw the opportunity with crypto to democratize this access, because it's like, well, my dollar should be just as good as your dollar, and the only reason why you don't accept my dollar is because the admin involved in dealing with 10,000 people instead of one person giving you $10 million is understandably a burden. So we got together a few years ago and we created a tokenization company called Concrete, which will be one of the partners as well to OpenDAO in terms of the tokenization space, which specializes in the tokenization of these real estate development loans and mortgages, for example. So we understand deeply in terms of my background and my co-founder's background, in terms of the asset class of real estate. And because of our backgrounds in the space, we know private funds, and if you're talking about real estate and the scale of these funds, again, that's why I think crypto is still so very nascent. Australia is not a big country by any means, but our small real estate funds here are $500 million easily in terms of the funds that fuel these types of real estate developments, and they're all funded by private high net wealth individual families. These are not that major banks, so the opportunity is immense just in that asset class itself. So our mission and how OpenDAO evolved over time was really seeing this massive opportunity here, seeing a disconnect with capital that was available all over the world through DeFi. How do we sort of bring these two things together and allow basically capital to flow more efficiently? And, you know, real estate, when done properly, when done through development, is a productive asset. And we think it can be the backing of a global stablecoin. And that's why we're building USDO.
No, I mean, real estate has always been a keen area of mine in general. I mean, over the years, I've invested in a number of real estate developments as well over in the UK. Not so much recently, since we've had a few legislation changes back. I think it was a good few years ago, actually, because there was a period where I was buying plenty of off-plan developments and setting them on before they'd even built. I think there'd been about 4 properties I'd bought in total off-plan. And I was close. I was this close to one of them being built before I'd sold it, but I think they only made it up to like the 5th floor. I was the 7th floor, and I'd already sold it. And actually, a lot of the investors were high net worth individuals that were buying off plan, from the Far East more than anything else. So it's always, I think there's certainly a space within real estate for this type of tokenization as well. And you're right, it opens it up to those who might not have access to high net worth individuals or access to a fair bit of wealth to actually be able to participate in this space. Which is always a good thing, because I think, as long as you can help out the smaller person, I think it's a good thing overall, rather than it just always being isolated to a group of individuals or organizations more than anything else. Sean, how about yourself? It's been a lot of miming from you, but what's your background, Sean? Not Sean, sorry, Logan. Logan. I'm looking at Sean over here, and I'm looking at Logan over there. So I'm looking at you, Logan. Your background, sir. Yeah.
My background?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, as you can see, probably right here in my background, you can see that I'm an artist, but I'm also an investor. I do technical analysis and fundamental analysis of cryptocurrencies. I've been doing that since 2014. And I joined OpenDAO back in September because I saw the promise. And I didn't do it because of profit. I didn't do it because of any of those motives, but I just saw a great project, so I joined up. I was super happy that Sean found me on Facebook. Yeah, I know, right?
People still use Facebook?
Like, it's sort of a random thing. Like, I ended up joining the project just because I was so active in some deeper Facebook communities. And at the time, I was looking to invest into Tesla and Apple. And I'm in Japan. I know you can't tell from my background, but I'm in Japan. And as an American, I was having some trouble investing into that stuff. There's a lot of regulations that get in the way. And I talked to Sean, and he said, "Hey, Logan, we're already doing that. We've already got the exposure here." And it was like a wake-up moment for me. And I joined the team.
Yeah, you have it.
But that was the moment. It was just like, yeah, okay, you guys are bridging the real world to the crypto world. Here we go. Like it boom. Like I really, it's hard for me to quantify it. At that point, I was more or less, I guess, temporarily retired. I hate saying it that way, but I was temporarily retired, and I came into the OpenDAO team just based on that.
Wow. Well, there you go.
We dragged him out of retirement. It's like in those movie scenes where I bust open his door, I throw him a shotgun. I'm like, come on, get in, loser.
It ain't over yet. It ain't over until the fat lady sings, basically. So,
Get over here.
so let's
That's
I mean, no, that's. I know I know I joked about Facebook earlier, actually, but there are some very deep-rooted communities of crypto in Facebook. In fact, when there's a few communities that I'm in, and because a community is important, actually, at the end of the day, not. And when I look at communities, one of the things that I'm not part of a lot of is a UK community specifically. I'm not being, I'm not trying to single out any particular community here, but actually what I've noticed is it's difficult to find a local community. It's all great being in a global community, but then there's sometimes not difference of opinions, but difference of cultures, and some people might not get certain etiquettes or jokes that you might crack. I think one of those things around communities is I've certainly found difficult is finding UK specific communities, but I have found a few, and it's interesting because it's a slightly different perspective when you talk locally versus globally. So I like that. Let's one of the other things I was going to talk about was let's expand a bit more on your team from earlier on, right? Because I know you guys have got a fair bit of news coming up. There's plenty of partnerships that have happened. There's plenty of advisors that are involved as well. I'm hoping you might be able to give a few tidbits away today. Let's see. I can push certainly, but I can see you've had Signum Capital involved. You've had Moonwhale, TRG, Delta Hub. The list goes on, right? And I suppose I've got to ask. Are these just names, or are your advisors actually providing advice?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And to be honest, we didn't need to do any kind of seed round.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually Signum in particular. They've been a long time backers of us and the project, and they've been around in the crypto space for a long time. Early backers in Kyber, Oasis,
Mm-hmm.
and the list goes on. So the team there have always been very supportive. They give a lot of good advice, and definitely, it's when you're in the fortunate position of not having to take on capital, you can choose to be picky, and we certainly were fortunate enough to sort of only take on money from people that we knew were going to support us and give good advice going forward in long term. The other thing we made sure that we did was to, in fact, more than probably 50% of our private round was done by community groups, because the name kind of gives it away, but OpenDAO is meant to be and will be a DAO. So our job is to really get the ownership of the DAO into as many hands as possible. So for the seed round, we didn't want any particular fund or whale, for example, to just sort of hold all of our tokens and then dump on the market once we're listed. We wanted our tokens in as many hands as possible, and we were able to achieve that through community groups. And 1,000 people talking about us is obviously better than 10.
Yeah.
So that was the sort of the rationale. So no, we've been fortunate to have good partners in terms of investment and strategy and advice. But I think what's more exciting is, and with Logan, we can probably talk about these other partners, because by the time this video comes out, it'll be tomorrow, which is when the big announcements are happening. So
yeah.
I'm going to name drop.
Here
so we've been working with the team at UMA for a few months now. Clayton, when we speaking of Facebook groups, we've big shout out to Clayton. We've known him for a long time. He runs DeFi Nation as well, and he's the community lead at UMA, and obviously also friends with Logan. So we have a good connection there, and we're going to be one of the first protocols to participate in their new dApp mining initiative, and we are taking over their yield dollar product, and we've built a new interface for that as well, which allow people to lock ETH or lock BTC to mint a yield dollar, which can then be used to provide liquidity on Balancer and earn UMA rewards. Or you can redeem it against USDC, or you can pay it back at the end of its life cycle. So that's the yield dollar product, which we can give you some links to check out. That's been very exciting. And through that process, obviously, we've been working with the Ren protocol guys as well to allow the onboarding of BTC. So you can think of the yield dollar in some ways as the precursor to our USDO, because these are obviously on-chain assets
Yep.
that we're using, ETH and BTC, but the interface will evolve over time to allow us to do more and more progressively off-chain and more illiquid assets as well.
Okay. Well, you heard it here on this channel first. I always like a bit of pre-news before it hits the scenes. Let's talk a bit more about your roadmap. I'm curious. What do we need to be excited for? Obviously, UMA. That's fine. You've obviously talked about stablecoin backed by real assets. Cashbox version 2. I'm hearing on the horizon as well. Got that coming out. Debit cards, credit cards. I mean, can we talk a bit more about those?
Definitely. So I think, as I mentioned, so the first thing will be the yield dollar. We'll be starting with ETH and BTC on-chain assets, and then we'll be moving to other kinds of on-chain assets as well. So we'll do a survey of the community and see what assets people are, wanting to be very long on, for example. So it might be Chainlink, or it might be whatever kind of other crypto, XRP even, that we can bridge to, because I think Ren is working on a bridge from XRP to Ren XRP. So we can take all those kinds of on-chain assets and then allow people to mint yield dollars. We did do a beta already for listed shares where we tokenized Apple, Facebook, and Tesla shares, which Logan mentioned. We'll be bringing that back in earnest for the second phase of collateral. So that'll be our first real step into real world collateral, and listed shares are obviously very liquid. They're done on brokerages, which we can plug into the APIs and have the liquidation modules work in a fairly seamless manner. And then over time, we'll be doing more illiquid assets. So that those are, receivables, for example, invoices, or real estate mortgages, things that tend to be slower moving. And that's where the cash boxes really come into play, because that's an entire mechanism solely designed to create this on-chain liquidity layer for off-chain assets. I think we'll probably need a whole other video for me to explain cash boxes in detail. But I guess the main takeaway with a cash box is it's a mechanism to allow people to benefit from being liquidity providers against these off-chain assets. So effectively, you can be paid to have exposure to a quality off-chain asset, such as real estate. So for example, you've invested in real estate in the past. You can sort of do some analysis and sort of think, okay, look, this building in the central business district of Melbourne, is valued at this much. And now the owner is going to tokenize it for 65% of its value. And I'm happy to be exposed to that asset.
Got it.
And allow other people to borrow a stable coin against it. And you can be paid just like being a liquidity provider on Uniswap.
No, I get it. It makes complete sense, actually. And I really like the concept of this, the idea behind it, because this way, you're right, and anyone can get involved. I mean, as long as you can get involved in terms of what you know, right? If you know real estate and you can judge a value of a property, and I suppose you could say you are fairly safe to a certain extent, that what you're providing or backing your asset against is it's a safe bet. It's not suddenly going to crash the following day in price wise. I mean, if it does, then to a certain extent, I think you need to take ownership as an individual as to whether you've backed the right horse as well at the same time. But really, those are the sort of things. No, I like that. I like it. That's certainly something I would do.
Well, if you're gonna invest and you're going into crypto and you're investing in Bitcoin and XRP and all those other things, when you compare that to Australian real estate, come on.
No, exactly. And plus, it's not as volatile either, right?
Right.
So it's safe at the same time. So, guys, I think we're getting to the point where we're going to wrap up the show. And as always, I like to wrap up on a high note. And really, it's about community more than anything else. So, Logan, you've got, I'm going to say, 3 minutes left. So, for our community, what do we have for them coming up to keep them engaged? What do they need to be engaged and excited about?
Oh my goodness, 3 minutes left and all. I have to say everything in this time.
Everything in 3 minutes, my man. Yes, sir.
Ah, buddy. Okay. All right. So the first thing you need to do and go to is t.me/OpenDAO.
Down below.
Come to our
That's
Telegram,
right.
talk. Please ask questions. We're transparent. We like answering questions here. We don't want anyone to be confused. We like everyone to be on the same page. We're not here just to make some big profit. This is a project that has been planned for years. We want to get people on board that are interested in making the future happen. So please come. And we're happy to clarify everything. I'm in there dang near 24/7, 365. I know Sean is in there. Moresh, our other founder, is frequently in the chat. So please come, please ask, please say hello. We're not every other project.
No, I'd certainly attest to that as well, actually. As we say in the UK, there's one of these British telecoms. It's good to talk more than anything else. And you've got, I mean, what else have we got coming up for the community? Actually, we've got ambassador programs, promo events.
I almost forgot to mention all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
You see, I've been listening in, and I'm like, come on, Logan, where's the goods?
Yeah, I haven't even
I think we found our new ambassador, Logan. I think Faraz is putting his hand up.
Yeah, Faraz, you need a job?
Well, potentially. We can always talk about it offline. I'm a busy man, but I'm sure I can squeeze something in somewhere.
Sorry, pardon my hair. Seriously, though, yeah, we're creating a new ambassador program. We're going to be rewarding people who speak about the DAO, talk about the DAO, spread the DAO. We're going to be making that more streamlined so that people who support us can get their own support. And aside from that, tomorrow, what is today? December 22nd?
It is the 22nd of December, yes.
Watch out tomorrow.
That's right, guys.
December 23rd, we have some big announcements coming in. There's going to be big announcements from us. There's going to be big announcements from a couple other people as well. So I implore you to be on your toes, join our Telegram, join our Discord.
Sorry, guys, we lost you there with a few technical difficulties, but you were saying
back.
You were saying you ended on Discord, and you were saying, Logan, go.
Oh, where was I? Okay, so the point is, tomorrow we have a big announcement. Whoa. Not a big announcement. Two big announcements. They're coming in. They're going to be the other people, the other groups are going to be announcing us as well. We expect a fair amount of traction. And I would just like to invite everyone now to come to OpenDAO, talk to me, or talk to one of our other ambassadors. We're super open.
There you go.
And I believe this project is not like the other crypto projects that you've seen. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of them, and yeah, there's a lot that promise a lot of things, and they tend to create this idea that value comes from nowhere. But OpenDAO, the reason that OpenDAO, I believe, has some promise is that we fill a niche. We solve a problem. And we did that before it was created.
Good.
So
I like it. I am looking forward to hearing. Yeah, no. I think we're all out of questions, to be honest, Logan. I think all I want to say is thank you both for taking the time. Certainly working across 3 different time zones here, actually. My day has just started, while for some of you it may be ending. And I will get this posted out as soon as I can, just because I want to be the first to talk about the UMM partnership that you mentioned before it goes out more than anything else. But look, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time out, and I like the energy. I really do. So I wish you all but nothing but success going forward, and certainly I'll drop by and ask a few questions as well from whatever else comes to mind. Logan, Sean, thank you so much, guys, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you for us.
Thank you so much.
Always great to chat.
Yeah. And we really appreciate it. This has been such a great opportunity, and we're looking forward to seeing ourselves on your awesome channel.
Yeah, definitely. Always welcome. Always welcome. Well, guys, see you soon.
Bye.